going on, family? How is everybody doing? I hope you all are doing okay. How is everybody doing? Let me make sure everything is okay, because last time y'all came in here and you couldn't hear me. So let's make sure we are all in kinds of copacetic of a way, and we can hear one another, because we have a lot to talk about today. It's unfortunate that it's unfortunate this even has to be a conversation. Let's begin. If you all have not gone to join ADOS.com to become a part of the movement that we have going on here, please do that. The banner across the bottom, join ADOS.com. Please absolutely do that. I would appreciate it if you would do that. Because we got some stuff to do. But there was some stuff I didn't even want to talk about this anymore. Like I honestly I didn't. Like I was through. I had said my piece, and I was finished. I am done. I've said everything I have to say. But people just people won't leave all that alone. That's the thing. And it's not about me. The thing is, and that's the thing. That's the problem that I had. It's just like somebody made it about me, and it's not about me. It's about the people. And I think people have a very hard time of just like comprehending that you can't use that as an evasion. So what I'm talking about is, for those of you all who don't know, and this is a very, I'm looking at the comments now. Hey y'all, what's going on? This is a very teachable moment right now. We are at a very teachable moment where some people can actually learn some things if they would pay attention. You could learn how to avoid scams and all kind of stuff you could learn if you would just pay a little attention. Okay, so what, and I say scam, I'm really and truthfully what I'm talking about. To me, I feel that's what it is. But listen, if you feel that it's not, and you are the CEO or the president of the company, then you have to come out and be transparent and answer questions. That's why we have earnings calls and different things, right? We have those things, in people, we have those things so that people can come out and say, listen, this is what we're doing. This is what we're working on. That's what that whole thing is about, right? You have to do that. But there's a reason why Jay Morrison does not have to do that. Now, part of the reason I said, oh my goodness, I have to come back on today is because I saw this. So let me just show y'all what this is. Jay Morrison did an Instagram, and on that Instagram, what he did, ladies and gentlemen, what he did was basically bring up pictures. How many times he brought up pictures of the, for those who are following me, he brought up images and pictures of the legacy, of the legacy center that's here in Atlanta. Well, the problem, family, is this. That's not how you do, like, you should really have an earnings call or something like that, but that's not how you talk about. I don't need to see pictures of your buildings for you to try to show me, hey, we're going to make money. We're going to, we're going to try to, we're expanding. And he was apparently in a room they were expanding because he couldn't stop sweating. So that's not how you do business transparency when you talk about why you've been bleeding money. According to the documents you gave the SEC, you have to come in and talk about those documents. You have to come in and talk about what that looks like. You have to come in and do that. But that's not what he did. Jay Morrison put up a bunch of pictures. And he put up pictures of the Legacy Center as if we've not seen it. That's all he's ever talked about. Right? Like, you put up pictures, and that's on his Instagram, fam. I'm sure he hasn't taken it down yet, because people don't have sense enough to come in out the rain. So you put up a bunch of pictures about this Legacy Center, not understanding that that's not how you talk to people, not to investors. If you're doing an investor conversation, imagine coming to an investor meeting, right? And you just said, look at these pictures we did. Look at this. This was shiny. It was shiny. We got pictures edited. There's a beautiful house. He's been showing us that Legacy Center forever. Like, and it seemed like, based on the way he was talking, that his business model sort of hinges on this Legacy Center making money as like a WeWork kind of company. But when you think about it, WeWork went out of business. So he said we had a WeWork model and it didn't work because of the pandemic. Well, there were other reasons that WeWork did not work, and it wasn't just because of the pandemic. I did a whole thing about WeWork on this show for people who say, "Oh my God, Yvette, y'all don't ever hold accountable white business." I did a whole WeWork segment on this show about what happened in that company, and it might have been Patreon. I can't remember. I think it might have been here where I talked about WeWork and how white people just kept throwing money and it failed. We talked about that, but part of the reason we don't, when you think about Boyce Watkins and the nonsense that he's saying, Boyce, the part of the reason that we don't do that, part of the reason that, well, y'all don't hold white people accountable, why y'all don't say that about white people? When white people be trying to do business, y'all don't say nothing about white people, and white people be doing business too. And how come you don't say nothing about white people? White people do business too. How come you don't say it? Well, because there's a whole apparatus that's set up for accountability of real business, which is mostly nearly all white business. You can go to CNBC and you can hear them debating stocks. You can go to Bloomberg and hear them debate. But most of all, they have serious investors as well and serious business people as well. Let me tell you what else happened in addition to Jay Morrison holding up pictograms. Picture, it's picture time. What happened in addition to that is that he started talking about other companies. Right, he started saying, it was the Boyce Watkins. That's the showman. That's the hype man. Boyce Watkins is the hype man. This is the president CEO of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. Well, Uber didn't make money for a long time, and that's how it is, and you don't make money for a long time. Sometimes you don't make money for a long time. But here's the thing. Here's the difference, Jay Morrison. Y'all are all dodo birds. Uber sells stock. So, ladies and gentlemen, what happens? What happens if I decide, ladies and gentlemen, what happens if I decide that, hey, I'm not making the kind of money I want to make in terms of my dividend at Uber? What happens if I decide I don't want to be around Uber no more? They're not making no money. I thought this rideshare stuff was going to be something. It's just taking advantage of Negroes, just hitchhiking and having them liquidate their car. What happens, ladies and gentlemen, if I own stock in Uber and I decide I don't want to own it no more? You know what I can do, ladies and gentlemen? I can sell it. Sir, you don't have stock that people can sell. Now you represented it that way because you knew sometimes Negroes don't understand stuff or they get caught up in their emotions of Tulsa. I want to do it. It's not because we're stupid or dumb. It's because we think about Tulsa. We want to believe. And you talk a good game. Hey, I want to do this for my people. So when that happens, you pull on our heartstrings because we're such a plundered group, and other groups get taken advantage of too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we are the least who can afford to be taken advantage of. That's what I'm saying. So you know how to kind of, Boyce has probably told you to, like, how to manipulate the heartstrings, Tulsa. And you sold this as countdown to IPO launch. IPO means initial public offering. People are believing that they can get rid of their stock or sell their stock. If I don't like it, I can sell it. No, you can't sell it. So don't compare yourself. If you're not doing real business, Jay Morrison, if you're not doing real business, Dr. Boyce Watkins, I'm not talking about selling flashcards. I'm not talking about selling classes. All these Negroes now got a class. If you're not doing big business, don't compare yourself to big business. If you can't do big business, if that's not your lane, if you never put on your big boy pants, let's not compare ourselves to people who do big business, shall we? Come on. Don't compare yourself to these people. You should have let these people be able to sell their stock and get away from you. You made these people you captured their money. And let me tell you something. He said something else. He said they have to come around for their second round of funding. He said a lot of these companies don't make money until they come around for their second round of funding. Are you coming back for more money, Jay Morrison? After this SEC filing said you lost money 2 years in a row. And I think that thing's had 20 and 21. I don't even know if it had 22. And there was something very interesting in that thing from JT in terms of the pocket watching show. He brought up something that says a substantial doubt. This is an independent auditor says substantial doubt about the entity's ability to continue it's a going concern that this company can go on without doing something else. It's running out of money. It ain't got no cash infusion. But it was something else. It said it says the company's ability to raise. The company's ability to continue as a going concern is codependent on its ability to raise the required capital. So you losing capital and now you're going to get more capital. Is that why you kept slipping that in during the conversation? If y'all noticed, if you didn't notice, he kept slipping in. He kept slipping in something. He kept slipping in something about additional funding. And so they go around and get a second round. But you've lost money. You've proven nothing, and we can't even sell the stock and get rid of it. Because it ain't a stock. You just showed that it's something that it wasn't. And then, as I mentioned on the Patreon show yesterday, you have it set up to where even if somebody wants to arbitrate against you, they have to go to Delaware. Now, wait a minute, Jay Morrison, I forget, Jermaine. You are set up in Atlanta. You operate in Atlanta. Why does somebody have to go to Delaware to arbitrate? And this is why Boyce is just Lord have mercy. God bless him and his PhD. Because he keeps saying, well, y'all should just sue. You can't sue. It says you can only arbitrate. This offering memorandum requires that all investors arbitrate any dispute other than those related to claims under federal securities laws and the rules and regulations promulgated thereunder, arising out of their investment in the company. All investors further agree that the arbitration will be binding and held in the state of Delaware. Each investor also agrees to waive any rights to a jury trial. So I waived my rights. You waived your rights to a jury trial by deciding to invest in this. So you don't get to go to court, Boyce, you dodo bird. There is no court, Boyce, you dodo bird. Like, there is no court you can go to. But guess what, Boyce? If you want people to go to court, why don't you say, hey, Jay Morrison, listen, I think people should be able to go to court if they want to go to court. Waive that clause. I said that yesterday. Waive that clause. Why don't you tell your friend Jay Morrison to waive that clause? If you want people to be able to go to court, tell Jay Morrison, waive that clause and let people go to court. Why don't you tell your homeboy to do that if you're such a big business guy? And let me just say one other thing. This ain't got nothing to do with nothing, but I'm tired of hearing one thing, and I'm not going to relitigate anything Boyce said because that's a dodge. I haven't talked to Boyce in at least 8 years, and I don't want to talk to him ever again in this life. But, so I don't even know why he's talking about anything 8 years ago. It's just so stupid. And it's such an obvious way to get around what we're talking about. But, Boyce, listen. Since you brought up 50 Cent in your video and you like to quote rappers as a PhD, let me quote a rapper for you. Since you always talking about, I made Yvette. You know, all these people saying they made Hove, make another Hove. Make another Yvette. Make another one. If you think everything that you did is everything I am, then put them ingredients into another one. Make another Hove. Since you like rap lyrics so bad, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Don't nobody want to hear this. That's just a dodge. Why you make it about me? And why you didn't touch nobody else? You were real deferential to JT Pocket Watcher. You didn't bring up Antonio at all. Antonio made a video before I made my video the same day. I was in the chat, right? But you can't. Why you always like to box? You have a specific kind of person you like to box out and bring up old grievances. And Antonio was on your channel too. Why you can't say nothing about him? Is you scared? I just want to know who you scared of. Because I don't even know why you should be scared of me. I done beat you up so many times. But why you scared of Antonio? It just seems a way to me that you run scared of some people. You run scared. I know why you scared. Antonio gonna mollywop you. I know why you scared. I know why you don't want to come at him. Because, people get confused as a woman and as a man. Like, it's a man and a man, you go get mollywop. So I understand. If I was you, I'd stay over there too. I'd stay over there on the sidelines like, well, I just ignore. I pretend like Antonio didn't say nothing. Because if you scared, you got to say you scared. But let me say one other thing. There's something else that I want to bring up. Because we're not going to be here too long. I'm going to let people call in today, though. But there's something else that's not here. Since Jay Morrison brought up Uber. He brought up Uber. Like I said, we're not going to be here too, but he brought up Uber. He said, Uber lost money too. And why people don't act the same way about me as they act about Uber. Yeah, Uber had a bunch of problems. Money was just one of them. But guess what they were able to do? They were able to get rid of the CEO. So let me just read this really quick. Mr. Kalanick, 43, started Uber in 2009 with Garrett Camp and turned the small startup into a behemoth that defined the ride-hailing industry. Investors forced Mr. Kalanick to resign as chief executive officer in 2017 after a series of privacy scandals and complaints of discrimination and sexual harassment at the company. So the investors forced him to resign. So let me keep count for you, fam. Normally when you have these companies that have real public offerings and they're really on the stock market like Jay Morrison pretends, what you have is you have the opportunity to either sell your stock or like the big investors, board, whoever, they can get rid of the CEO. So those are two things you have to do. Those are two mechanisms that you have to tell the CEO, no, we're not doing this with you no more. Right? I can sell my stock and say, and then the stock can plummet, or I can get rid of the CEO. Let me show you why, for those who have forgotten, let me show you why that does not happen with the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. There's an interesting little clause in this fund, right? The fund says this. It says we are sick. This is the paperwork that you sign on to and what you agree to when you invest in this company. It says we are significantly dependent on Jay Morrison. Now, why would you be significantly dependent on a high school dropout with no real estate success to measure, right? Why would you have this clause in here? Okay, well, let's just keep reading, Yvette. Just keep reading. We are significantly dependent on Jay Morrison. The loss or unavailability of his services would have an adverse effect on our business operation and prospects, in that we may not be able to obtain new management under the same financial arrangements, which could result in a loss of your investment. Our business plan is significantly dependent upon the abilities and continued participation of Jay Morrison. It would be difficult to replace Jay Morrison. I can replace a high school dropout as a CEO in a heartbeat, but whatever. It would be difficult to replace Jay Morrison he been in the penitentiary. Oh yeah, I can replace you. But let me stop. It would be difficult to replace Jay Morrison at such an early stage of development of the company. The loss or unavailability of his services would have adverse effects on our business, operations, and prospects, in that our ability to replace Jay Morrison could result in the loss of one's investment. There can be no assurance that we would be able to locate or employ personnel to replace Mr. Morrison should his services be discontinued. In the event Wait a minute. In the event that we are unable to locate or employ personnel to replace Mr. Morrison, we would be required to cease pursuing our business opportunity, which could result in a loss of your investment. What they are saying is that if you don't keep Jay Morrison around, there's a good chance you lose your investment. So I have lost two tools. I cannot sell my stock, and I cannot fire this Negro who's at the head of this fund. So the things that normally I can do, or normally the board can do, or investors can do to get rid of an underperforming CEO or president, I cannot do because of what was written in here. How y'all gonna tell me that's right? How y'all gonna tell me y'all told me y'all wrote something that said y'all cannot replace an underperforming child? Y'all can't replace Jay Morrison. Y'all let that paragraph be put in there. Well, you can't get rid of him now. Because he's going to say, listen, I told you, it's set up that way. Ooh. But anyway, listen, when I was talking about this, only thing I'm saying is that instead of bringing picture books, like even with all of this little stuff that's been done, instead of bringing picture books, why don't you just explain the losses? Go through the losses and say we had losses, this, that. It's amazing to me. All these people go on Instagram, boys go on YouTube and say he ain't seen nothing, he ain't did nothing, he don't know nothing. Everybody's going and talking about what they don't know. Explain what this is. Explain all of these losses. Explain 2 years in a row. Explain if you have more money, just you can show how JT Pocket Watch was wrong, and you have more than 700,000, and this is why the losses look this way. And what you showed up with pictures of the Legacy Center, child. Right? Let's talk about your cash on hand. It's not only just profit. He said you don't know what you don't know. Well, yeah. Why don't you tell me? Instead of showing up with pictures of this. If I don't know what I don't know, He said, I'm operating in excellence done by black people and black excellence. Well, I don't understand what that, we have different definitions of black excellence. You should be able to talk about what this is. You should not have a picture show. I don't want to see pictures of the Legacy Center. Who wants to see that? Like, instead of coming up with a real slideshow, if y'all don't believe me, somebody go and look at go find a company, even a smaller company that has their earnings calls public, and listen to them. And I want you to compare it to this, and you tell me about it. He said they're doing the work behind the scenes. He says he has a culturally, I want to make sure I get it. He says he has a culturally dipped event center that he says been having 6-figure months. So it looks like a lot of stuff is hinging now on this event center. He said they invested $4.5 million in it. They're hosting corporate events, Legacy Center in different cities, different countries. Now when he said he said he created jobs. Now understand something. This is very different than the spiel he gave everybody when he was talking about we're gonna rebuild Black Wall Street. We're gonna reverse red line and it's all this stuff. No. And can he? I'm not gonna bring this up because I brought it last show. But can you explain, if you're losing money, why the management fees are so high? Like, there's supposed to be some kind of correlation. What we complain about all the, there's supposed to be some kind of correlation. I know how I just went off of that fan. I said, what we complaining about? Then I just went back to something else. My mind just be gone. But there's supposed to be some kind of correlation, especially if you are stewarding ADOS fund, mostly ADOS, but black fund, because I don't know who else you got in there. If you are stewarding that, should not there be some correlation between management funds and what you are making? How are you losing this kind of money that you told the SEC that you're losing, and somehow you still are racking up these $600,000 or whatever it was in management funds? How can we explain that? See, you have to explain that, boys. Tell your hype man. You got to explain that. You can't just say, well, y'all don't do this with white business. Look, white business do it to each other all day long. They be going over each other's earning call. We got all kind of magazines and TV shows that do that kind of stuff, and they go over white business with a fine-tooth comb. They do that. See, the reason you mad is because y'all know, these people know, we don't normally do that. We normally just give. Listen, I wonder if JT hadn't did his show and we hadn't come out and do this show, y'all was just going to let that go, huh? Everybody was just going to act like that SEC report didn't happen. We were just going to walk off. See, that's why they do it. Because normally we just walk off and we don't say, hey, before you leave, before you go somewhere, can you tell me about this? Normally there's nobody. Listen, I am all about, I would love to see more YouTubers get in this space and do some accountability stuff. Because this is just some ridiculous stuff we got into. But he went on to say some other stuff, man, because I don't want to be here too long. But look, Uber stock took a beating, right? Right? And so that's what you have. You can the stock's supposed to take a beating when that stuff happens. People, the investors lose value. The CEO, if he has stock, loses value. And then he said, Lord child, I'm tired of people with $20 million bringing up Amazon to 13 or 10, because he said 10 now. But boy, when he was at the Tulsa Real Estate Fund Gala, he said it was 12 and some change, and I don't know. But here's the thing. He brought up Amazon again. And he said Amazon lost money too. Amazon kind of I'm not saying they didn't lose money at all, but they kind of reinvested. Amazon is a bundle. It's hundreds of separate businesses all running on the same common platform. The big established ones are highly profitable, but Amazon chooses to reinvest those profits. Choose to reinvest those profits into new businesses so that reported net income for the company overall looks low. This makes the underlying success of the business model. This is what their stuff looks like. Stop comparing yourself to Amazon. You are not in that league. Reinvestment is not lost. And guess what happens with Amazon, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what happens? If you decide, listen, I don't like Amazon's business model no more. I don't want to do it. You can sell the stock. They also have a board. The board can come in and replace whoever, right? The board can suggest changes. I want y'all to tell me, do you think that's possible with Jermaine Morrison? Tell me if that's possible. I just want to know. Well, then they go on. He goes on, child. He goes on. Child. Let me tell you, these some talking people. These people are used to talking themselves out of anything. That's a whole problem. I can't talk my way out of this. Yvette, just keep talking, right? If Amazon TTM cash flow, does this look like a broke company to you? Like, this is the cash flow. Sometimes you have to look at profits instead of, cash flow instead of profits, because people are doing other things. And I'm not an account major, but some stuff is just basic, right? Since you want to bring up Amazon, let's talk about what Amazon looked like, and we'll talk about the growth, right? North America, international, that's the kind of growth investors are looking at. But it's still their decision whether to sell. You have trapped Jay Morrison people into not being able to sell, because it really never was an IPO. It really never was a stock. You sold it that way because you were selling something to us. You were pulling on the heartstrings, right? He says this is the normal life cycle of an emerging company, not to purge money that quick. And then if you do, you got to explain it. That's the thing. If you do purge money like that, you have to come out and talk about what it was, what your plans are. He should have listened to an earnings call before he started this. He just should have. But like, if I look at Amazon, I'm going to look at members. I'm going to look at their senior vice president and chief financial officer, right? That is Mr. Olsavsky. Joined Amazon in 2002 as CFO. He oversees the company's financial activities. And before any of that, he's been with the company for a long time. But before that, he was with Global Consumer Business. He has a long resume, right? Amazon Worldwide Operations. He spent 7 years as Fisher Scientific, where he held a variety of business and management roles, in total of 8 years at BF Goodwrench and Union Carbide, where he had a variety of financial and operational roles. Mr. Olsavsky received a BS in mechanical engineering from Penn State and an MBA in finance from Carnegie Mellon. So if you go through there, you see the kind of people that are holding, that are kind of steering the ship, because that's kind of what a board does, right? It's steer the ship. We've been working to build a board here. That's what a board does. It steers the ship, right? You see who is doing that. Who is doing that for Jay Morrison? I'm just asking. You can. I'm not gonna spend much time on them. I was going to, but you can look it up yourself. He brought up Airbnb again. The stock. You don't have stock. You don't have stock, Jay Morrison. Jermaine, you don't have stock. You had a legacy center. And let me just say something else. You have to just watch people who will say anything, right? You gotta just watch people. They'll say anything. So if you will get online and say, we are committing $3 million per day, $90 billion per month, to $1.09 billion per year, to illegal real estate, double closings, no credit risk, no down payment, no employment verification. How do you let billion come out of your mouth? Like, you just have to watch these people who will just say anything. Anything can come out your mouth. Yeah, we commit $3 million per day, and that. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Did any of y'all who invested ask him what he was talking about? I'm just asking. And he launched what is this? The Cash Buyers Academy. Let me tell you something. It's almost as if Jay Morrison has ADHD. And it's no shade to anybody who has that. I understand that's a real illness. There's medication, there's all kind of stuff, but it has to be treated. And you learn behavioral ways to deal with it sometimes. And this is a society, too, that kind of encourages you to just be on your phone and do whatever. I understand. Sometimes I get there and I have to be like, I throw my phone across the room. So I totally get it. Right? But, like, he's doing all these courses, and I don't think the income from any of these courses is included in the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. So if I was on the board, or if I was an investor, I would say, like, this wholesale mastery course and all this stuff, I would say, listen, our CEO is scattered. Our CEO and president, or president and CEO, is scattered. They are focused on a bunch of different enterprises that have nothing to do with the fund. If you are managing $1 million fund, 12, 10, however many, and you want to make that profitable and build that into a $30 million fund or whatever your goal is, you got to stop doing a lot of stuff. Here we go again. You got to stop doing all them corner classes and stuff. Like, it's too much. You have to have a focused CEO, president, whatever. You have to. Right? This stuff that I'm seeing with Jay Morrison, it's like you are not a focused CEO on it's like he's doing everything. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do 20 things. Sir, you just have some kind of issue. You have some type of issue that seems sort of undiagnosed. How many of y'all remember, what's this? No money down, credit check for real estate transactional funding. Okay. Lord of mercy. How many of y'all remember this? Y'all remember this though when Jay Morrison, and this is when him and Tariq Nasheed got in, when Tariq Nasheed got at him because Tariq was like, you in my lane. I'm over here trying to steal ADOS, and then you trying to get over here. You can't be over here with me. I'm already trying to steal, and you trying to steal from me. I done stole over here. You can't steal from me over here too. It's too much stealing going on. So he tried to come into the political space. Right? And that was the only time when Marcus, whatever his name is, I don't know the child's real name. It's too many people running around with fake names for me. But that's when Nasheed came in and said, no, this is too much. Like, he's gone too far. And people were like, yeah, he called him a plebiscite. No, he said that because he was going into his thievery lane. So peace, family. The time is now. The Black Rights Party, BRP, is a bipartisan, pro-solutions, consequence-based political movement of Black American citizens and their allies who believe in defending the basic human rights of Africans in America and all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, sex, nationality, and status. Now, you are running this fund, and you not only are you doing corner classes and stuff, but you are starting a new political party. I have not heard anything about this political party as of late, but my point is that this is an unfocused person. In what world do you believe that you can manage a fund, do corner classes, start $1 billion, whatever he said he was doing, and then start a political party? Control the vote. What made you? What kind of fool are you? Like, that you believe you can do all this stuff? I can tell you how difficult it is to try to manage your org and then also do shows. He doing like 10 things. I didn't bring everything up. This is a scattered and unfocused person, but you can't get rid of him because he got that clause in there. You can't. You stuck with him. He says we don't know big business. Go watch it on the Instagram. Go give it a click. He said we don't know big business. You don't know big business. And it had like 30 comments at first, and it didn't have no comments, but a lot of comments seem to be spam anyway. So, and then it didn't have no comments. It was so weird. You just, like, what are you doing? Like, you everywhere doing everything. You must start a political. You know what I feel like when I see these people? I feel like it's like when you're a kid. You ever have a kid run up to you and say, yeah, I want to be president. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a businessman. I want to be a doctor. And you're like, oh, that's cute because you're a kid. And the world is open to you. And you have a lot of stuff you want to do. And what else? And what else you want to do? Boogie, 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 boogie. Okay. Now, I also want to be a construction worker. I be building things. Okay, boogie, 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 boo. What else you want to do? You know, that's what I feel like. He has decided that he wants to do everything. And he really feels that he can do everything. And some of the stuff is so stupid. So I pointed out that it was kind of stupid to paint this house black in Georgia. Just because of what the temperature is in Georgia. And we don't have bad winters, but we have bad summers. And he painted it black. But let me show you something else. Sometimes stupidity jump out at me. Now, I'm not saying you saying he can't do nothing. Well, he got to prove it, though. He got to come out and say what he going to do. He can't just hide. But why Jay Morrison? Let me make this bigger. Why, Jay Morrison, did you paint the address of the building black? I'm just saying, like some stuff, fam, you just got to look at, why did you paint the address of the building black? People need to see the address. You couldn't have left the address the color it was or painted the address a different color, a light gray or something where people can see it. How you see the address on the building? The address was put on the building for a specific thing and you was proud. You was showing us the whole thing and the address is painted black. That's all I'm saying. I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just saying sometimes I look at stuff and it just tells me that there might be a problem somewhere in the processing. That's all. I'm just saying. Why is it painted black? I need to see it. If I'm driving to where you are, I need to see your address. If I'm in the car and I'm looking, what is this? Is this the right building? You done painted the doggone thing black. You so proud of it too. We painted the black house thing. That's absorbing all kind of heat this summer. It's gonna be what here in Georgia tomorrow? 95 degrees. Woo, where you gonna be absorbing all that heat? What the air conditioning bill look like over there? Now, why would you do that? I'm just trying to figure it out, fam. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I want to know all these classes too, him and the little earn your leisure people, are those included or is that just his money? Because they've been doing all kind of stuff. Is that just Jay Morrison's money? Or is that part of the fund money? See, he's been doing, let me tell you, that man is doing everything except focusing on that fund. Now, if it were me, I would want my president not to be doing 1,000 different things. Like I can point you at least like 8 to 9 different projects just from going around today and yesterday and looking what Jay Morrison's been doing. It seems like everything he do is just grab money for what he's for like his notoriety right now. That's a lot. 1,200 registered attendees. Did they charge? Was it free? And I think we miss out on how much. I'm not going to get into it, but I don't think we think about how much Jay Morrison they really pushed Tulsa. Like you don't hear as much about it anymore, but they really pushed what happened in Tulsa. And they called it Tulsa Real Estate Fund. And that was so much a part of the heartstrings. 99 years ago. I think they launched on the date that Tulsa was burned down, didn't they? Was savagely burned down and people were murdered and brutalized. Didn't they launch on that day? Like you just pulled on our heartstrings and now you don't want to explain anything. That becomes a problem. You have to explain what happened. Like that's what you don't get away from. And it's not, there's nothing, you should demand accountability. I would say that you would have to demand at least as much accountability from somebody who said they're doing this for Tulsa. They're doing this in remembrance. They're doing this to build. You would have to hold that person to at least, I would say you hold that person more accountable than a white business. Because the white business told you, hey, if you pop boys, if you order chicken, I'm going to give you chicken. That's what they told me. That's what they told you. They told everybody else. I don't know what boys got against Popeyes too. Popeyes, they threw a chicken wing right at his head. Boop! They're like, I'm gonna hit that milk dud. Boop! Like I don't know. So I don't know what boys has against Popeyes. I really don't. But I think you actually hold a business that used Tulsa. Like Jay Morrison didn't just come out and say, hey, I'm gonna sell some hot shirts, hot socks. These are really good quality. They have really good designs and buy some. He said, we're rebuilding our community. We're rebuilding in remembrance of what happened to our people. That's what he said. He put up articles about what happened in Tulsa. And he said, I'm doing something. We're doing something. We're going to kind of, in a way, rebuild. That person, to me, actually gets held in a higher standard. Because the Popeyes just promised me chicken. They didn't promise to do nothing with the chicken. They didn't promise to do nothing with the money from the chicken. They only promised chicken. Chicken. What? Chicken. He promised something else for the community. And that means you have to be honest with the community. That's what it means. It means you have to come out and say, this is what happened. This is our strategy going forward. This is our strategic plan in terms of how we're going to recoup the money. This is what we're going to need. This is all of that has to be a part of it. And if you, like I said, again, don't listen to me. If you want to really understand it, just go, right, and find any earnings call, right, from a company. Find a call from a company that was in trouble, right? You could, because a lot of companies keep their earnings calls, like they keep them even after the fact. There's a record. They keep them on the thing. Find a company that was in trouble and listen to the earnings call. And see what's being said to that CEO. But Jay Morrison knows that you can't get rid of him. All of these are just articles about Tulsa. I think you have to go to his page. And the Tulsa Real Estate Fund has been Facebook page has been dead for a while. I haven't seen anything since 2022. But he be on the corner, child. He can't get off the. You can't get this man off the corner. He's not my president. But he might not be doing it. He will not lead it. But he like this was the sales pitch. Right? The sales pitch was Tulsa. Right? And so, you know, I don't even know what he means 50% prorated share. What does that mean? So I think when you think about it, it's very problematic. It's very problematic what Boyce is doing as Mr. Hype Man. So we talked about Mr. CEO. Mr. Hype Man is having a lot of problems. He's struggling. He says if you can prove, he went into the comments and went back and forth with people in the most moronic way possible. If you can prove any of these things, then you have a case you can take to the authorities. These are the signs of fraud, intent. No, they can't take it. They arbitration, boys. You don't read well. Like, what's your reading speed? Fraud entails intentional deceit, personal gain. Like, boys, disclosure. You went and Google that too. I bet you go look that up. It's the same way somewhere. Go put that in the thing. I bet you he copied and pasted it. But the point of the matter is he keeps saying that you can take this to the authorities. You can't. You can't. You can only go to arbitration. You can't go to the authorities. So I think people should call on Boyce. If you want us to be able to go to the authorities, then tell Jay, I think you should call on Jay to take the arbitration clause out of the paperwork. Because even if I can prove something, it may not be criminal, but like I can't take it to court. Like even if it is, I can't take. I agreed to arbitration. If you think I should go to court, Boyce, which is what you said, then you should be okay with how it comes out. You should be okay with saying, yeah, you need to let these people go to court. Right? I don't need this man talking about how he partnered with the Obama Foundation to do X, Y, and Z. I don't need any of what he's doing. Like this is sort of the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And the last few days have been just him and Boyce running from responsibility, running from transparency, running from accountability. You are doing black business a disservice. Like, really and truthfully, if you all had just, regardless of what I feel, if you come out and explain it and talk about what you're doing and talk about what happened and talk about the specifics and talk about the path forward and talk about and bring up the SEC chart, then we could talk about, okay, what does that look like? Okay, how are you going to move past what JT brought up in the last show? How do you move past the independent auditor saying, hey, I don't really see a way forward? You got to tell people how you see a way forward. I already peeped what Jermaine's Jay Morrison's way forward is. He's going to ask for another round of funding. He's going to say we're an emerging market. Well, you haven't shown to be a good steward. I already saw that on the Instagram. This is on our first round of funding. You think you're getting a second? See, you have to. He has to answer these questions. And instead of answering these questions, let me just point this out before I go. Instead of answering these questions, what he's done is make it all about you're the problem. Boyce did that. You're the problem. Y'all all just, when y'all gonna talk about a white CEO? When y'all gonna da-da-da-da? We complain about that all the time. What you don't do, Boyce, is that if this was a white man, let me tell you, if Jay Morrison was a white man who took a lot of dollars, especially black dollars, and was losing money, he'd have done 5 videos. In order to get his money, he got to do 10 videos a day. Hey, y'all, stocks is doing good. You would have made, if Jay Morrison was white and he had come to us to build something that would benefit us and he had all these losses, you would do 10 videos a day. You are not holding this man accountable because he's your friend and because he's black. You are not holding him accountable. That's you, boys. That's not you, the racist here. You would, if that white man came in here and took some money and said, I'm gonna do something specific, I'm gonna build up something specific, and it's gonna have a disproportionate number. I'm gonna set aside something. I'm gonna have housing, and it's gonna be a lot set aside for ADOS people. And he didn't do it. You'd be the first one. You'd be calling for an investigation. You would write your own letter, right? You would write your own letter. You would if Jay Morrison was white, you would be at the SEC with a little satchel. I'm here to file a claim, a report. I've been robbed. You would be up there by yourself. If Jay Morrison were Chad Morrison, you would be at the government. You won't do it. You won't do it because that's your boy. And he black. That's the only reason why you won't do it. So if you want to talk about who's using race in this scenario and who's not protecting his people, boy, that's you. And let me just say this. This is it, and I'm going to the phone. Let me tell y'all something. I have a problem with people who have a Messiah complex. I have a problem with it. And it's always a red flag for me. So go on Instagram and watch Jay Morrison's video. It's about 47 minutes long, I think. I struggle through the whole thing. He talks. He goes and he goes and he goes and he goes. And at a certain point, he starts talking about religion. Now, I understand that a lot of people use religion to manipulate people, so but I don't have a problem with it. If you're a religious person, I think you should be able to discuss your religion no matter who you are. I have brought that up before here. So I don't begrudge anyone that. But when you start talking about your petty don't defeat my God, or y'all can't outwork my God, sir, bring up the numbers. This is not about your particular kind of Messiah complex or what you believe about yourself. You can tell that junk to Ernestine. This ain't got we are not I don't like people that try to throw God out to dodge away from what their responsibilities are. Sir, I do not care. I need to know about this paperwork. That's what I need to know about. I need to know what it is. I need to know but you got child. The last part he started talking. What else he said? He said, I made more money outside the fund than inside the fund. Well, that's a problem too. That means your focus was outside the fund and not inside the fund. Like, you got these millions of dollars and I made more money outside the fund. But people do that when they want to minimize you. Y'all remember when Tariq Nasheed said, this little money y'all give me and this little money I made from YouTube ain't nothing. That's just a way to minimize you and make you think that your contribution to what they do is not substantial. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. If I have given you $1, you better not never come to me and tell me your little dollar ain't nothing. How many times have I told anybody who ever donated $5, $2 to me, your little $2 ain't nothing? $2 spends. Money spends. Anybody who is trying to tell you otherwise is trying to diminish you. You better get a hold of yourself. Then he started talking about, I'm going to the African Union. I'm going to sit down with world leaders. That's kind of what God has in plan for me. It's something wrong. What's wrong with you, sir? You all right? You need some medicine? I'm going to sit down. What? And even with the way he presented, it was like he was cosplaying CEO. Like, what would a CEO have at his desk, right? So when he first started doing this, this is a while ago, but it was just like, I got to find a suit. And I gotta find a thing. Like I'm gonna find a globe, and I'm gonna have Africa pointing towards the front. Like, this is cosplaying. That's just what it is. I wish it were different, but it's not. Right? It's not different. This is cosplaying. Unless you show me different. Unless you show me different. He put on a whole suit, 3-piece suit. He hot. He was doing them. Remember he used to do them weekly things? He gave them up real quick. When that money started losing, he didn't do no more of them. He did them in like 2019, early 20. When that money started going, child, he said, I ain't doing these no more. I ain't putting on this hot suit with this glow and putting this planner in front of me that I ain't never wrote nothing in. I ain't doing that no more. I can't I can't do this. I can't do no more. This acting. This is too much. Child, listen, this is bad. Like, and if it's not bad, they should come forward and say it's not bad. If you have a plan or some kind of infusion of capital, hey, I'm willing to be wrong all the time, but you got to tell me I'm wrong. You can't go quiet, or you can't just send boys outside to talk about how this is. You can't talk about black business, and you can't criticize Negroes. You can't do that. Tell your hype man to sit down. He just making a fool of himself. He got 600 and some comments over there on YouTube, and all of them negative except 2. I counted. I'm banned. I can't say that. But like, he got 600 comments, and all of them bad. Listen, sit your hype man down. He doing a bad job. And y'all got to get together and do a presentation about what the way forward looks like. The independent auditor says without an infusion of cash or some drastic happening, you might be you are headed to bankruptcy. You have to counter that. You can't count that by telling me about your belief and the fact that you feel that you're anointed. You counter that by real numbers and real plans for the future. That's all I'm saying. If I'm wrong, I love to be wrong. I love everybody who invested to get their money. Listen, I don't want to be right to the point of like people who I love and care about in terms of the ADOS community being hurt. I want to be wrong, but you got to come out. This doesn't give me any kind of confidence in nothing. So anyway, fam, let me go. Give me a few minutes. I'm gonna set up the calls. So if you want to call in, please do, and we can have the conversation. So give me a couple minutes to do that. But this some crazy stuff. Boy, I tell you. All right, fam, we are back. We are back. We are back. Let's go to the phones real quick. Get a couple calls in here at least, If you want to call in, feel free to do so. Um, Let me go to 954. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, my name is Jamal in Florida. I'm listening to the show and I listened to. Hello?
I'm here. I can hear you.
You hear me?
Uh huh.
Okay, good. I'm listening to the show, and I did watch some of Boyce's quote unquote rebuttal, and something that I didn't hear. Does he continue to endorse Tulsa Real Estate Fund and still suggest or say what he said before was why not invest? Does he still say that people should invest in this fund?
He doesn't say. That's the thing.
Hmm.
He doesn't. He didn't say. He doesn't say whether or not he stands with his initial thing, right? Like, do you stand with your initial, your initial stance that it's a good investment? Like, are we going to continue to push forward? I didn't see that either.
Yeah, I think that would be the question for him now. People ask me, we need to ask him, do you continue to suggest that we put our money into this thing? Because the news is obviously he's going to ask for another round of funding. Obviously, he's going to do that. You can see him saying that basically.
Mm-hmm.
So is he still there? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's what I want to know too, because
That's all I really.
initially, Boy said like my question would be, I want it to be a big fund, I want it to be $1 billion or whatever. Okay, well, what do you feel? I think he would probably say yes because Boyce will cut off his nose despite his face, but like we'll see. I think you should answer that though. Do you encourage people to still invest in the fund, even though it's losing money? And
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Well, if the answer is yes, though, if the answer is yes, you have to give us reasons. Why do you say this is a good idea?
He gonna say it's a black man. That's I mean, that's how I feel. But because he hasn't given us any kind of legitimate finance reason or perspective or he hasn't buttressed it like he didn't say. He could have come out and said, listen, I have insight into something that Jay Morrison is doing, that I think is going to turn this stuff around. He didn't say any of that. He said it's a black man. So I think that's all he could say. I think that's all he could come up with. He should have never made that video. But listen, it's whatever.
Okay, well, that's all I really had. Just a quick question on it, but I'd like to see what he does going forward.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in.
Have a good night.
You can't stop. Going to going to 702. 702. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Yvette?
Pretty good. How you?
All right. I just wanted to call in and say something real quick and just say that I'm really glad that you guys were on top of this from the beginning. I mean, it was obvious to me. Yeah, I've seen cons before, and it's unfortunate that black people are in such a state that we're so susceptible to these kind of cons. And I understand the desperation that people have, and they're reaching out for things. And when anybody puts something forward that seems as if it's pro us and possibly can give them something, they go for it emotionally. And it's unfortunate that we don't really think it through. But I understand why we don't. I understand that we're a vulnerable people, and it's easy to create this kind of thing. But as you said, I'm disappointed, and I am disappointed in someone like Boyce because he gave it credibility with his credentials and with his words, and that's unfortunate because you can't do that. You really just can't do things like that. And I'm glad that you guys were really on top of this in terms of exposing it, immediately exposing it for what it was, which was shady dealings and obviously a con job. And I'm hoping that, maybe this is a lesson for people to see that these things occur this way and to be more diligent when they trust people, to understand that you have to really vet people and look at them closely and listen to all sides and do your research and talk to people who are knowledgeable before you invest in something, because we don't have that kind of money to lose.
What you wait a minute. What you saying?
And unfortunately, because this happens, people will lose faith in things that will be legitimate in the future. Maybe somebody comes along with some legitimate plan to do something, and they've been taken by a shyster, and they're gun shy about things that may be a little risky, but are actually real.
Good. Well, that's
so
what I
all
said.
I had to say. I'm
Well,
just
fam,
glad
well,
you
fam,
guys on top of it.
I'm happy you said that because I feel like Boyce hurts black business by not holding Jay Morrison accountable. Because when companies start to suffer losses, what you want to see is that somebody is holding that person accountable. Like you want to be able to say somebody is looking out for me, right? And you co-sign this, so you have to then go out and say what this is and what the problem is, and give people an assessment. So now if somebody comes with a real good business idea and it actually is legitimate, they're going to be like, "No, I got burned." And I'm not listening to expertise. You know, a lot of times I say on this show, I don't know why so many ADOS people are opposed to expertise. And Boyce Watkins gives me an idea why. Because you won't use your expertise. Like you have expertise in finance, but you will not pull out a calculator to save your life. That thing is like kryptonite. And so they feel like it won't matter. Like you came out there to the fund, and you like there's a way to say you're interested in what somebody's going to do. You look forward to it without fully 100% co-signing them. But that's not what you did. You fully co-signed him and said, "Why wouldn't you buy it?" You have to answer for that because that's your cosign. You don't get to say, "Well, what if he was a white man?" That's not how you talk about that. That's not how you have that conversation. So.
And you made a very valid point there about expertise and people not trusting it. The thing is, with expertise, you have to display it. And Boyce is not displaying it. I don't want to pick on Boyce because I want to make that a more general thing.
Mm-hmm.
The reason a lot of black people don't trust expertise is because oftentimes people do what he did in terms of, hey, you know what, it's a black thing, and I don't have to display competency in this. I was looking the other day at Palantir. That's the company that Peter Thiel has founded. And I see all of these content creators on YouTube all around. They're all giving you numbers. They're giving you background. They're giving you information. They're not quote-unquote possibly experts. Many of them do have backgrounds in finance, though, in finance and investment. But they're giving you actual rationales. They're giving you actual information. They're giving you a logic as to why they're evaluating the company the way they're doing it. You don't just come out and say, because it's, hey, you know what, this makes you feel good because we're black, or this makes you feel good because whatever reason. You got to come out with something that's valid, that's real, that's solid. Don't tell me, oh, this is a feel-good thing. Oh, it's because, this is something that we got to get behind because it's black, because it's this. I don't like that. I've never liked that. Even when I was young, the idea of I'm going to support black business because it's black business, that's ridiculous. If it's a bad business, business, black, white, or whatever, I will support a good black business, but I will not support a bad black business. I won't. Yeah,
and I will support them even if they're even, right? If this black man right here is selling ribs, and there's
fine, that's good.
and there's Popeyes right here, but this black man is selling chicken, this black woman selling chicken, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna select the black one. But you can't just you're exactly right, fam.
So I'll let you go. Keep up the work.
Thank you. I'm trying to be done with this, but they just keep talking. I'm trying to be done with this right here. Thank you, fam. I appreciate
you. All right.
They keep coming in hot. I can come in hot too. That's the problem with coming in hot. They can come in hot too. So going to my next call, I am going to 909. 909, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. This is Dr. Soul Brother. How's everything?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Hanging in there. I'm going to make this brief. I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
First of all, I don't know why, this whole thing about us being vulnerable is real. We've actually seen this before.
Really?
If you remember, do you remember in the 80s, power, people working for people organized working for economic rebirth?
I don't, but in the 80s I was young, so I don't think I researched that part.
well, the thing is this. That was happening in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was done under Louis Farrakhan. And that was supposed to have been created to develop jobs in the black community. And that's when you had the clean and fresh products. Okay? Well, we saw how that didn't play out. So I'm saying we've seen this played out before. The other thing, you're right about this Messiah. What's the term you used?
Messiah complex or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a real problem. It's a big problem. And the thing is, you have people who take advantage of that. See, the fact that here's what you have. Our legitimate gripes, concerns, and overall oppression has been and continues to be exploited. And we see this played out over and over again. Lastly, I want to ask you this. What would it take to keep the momentum going with ADOS? And I ask that question because I'm noticing that, and I'm not trying to be negative, but it seems to be kind of waning a little bit, if I'm making any sense.
Well, I don't think it's waning. I think everything ebbs and flows. I actually think the momentum with ADOS is up, especially based off what I see in terms of people signing up at joinados.com. So I think it's up. But I think it's up for a very specific reason. And I think it's up and people aren't loud about it, right? I think there are people who have realized that this is the only game in town, but because they were wrong about it, they don't want to talk about it. But they'll sign up or they'll donate and they'll give money. But they don't want to be, they don't want to be loud about that. So I don't think it's waning. I do think, though, a lot of what we're doing, or enough of what we're doing and what we're planning to do, is going offline. So we are not as motivated as we were online. It doesn't mean that we're not active online anymore, but it does mean that once you start building out stuff for chapters and you start doing stuff, and we're going to talk very soon, y'all, about, like, we're going to have some sessions very soon about chapters and which chapters we're lighting up first, second, and third. People are pivoting in a very different direction, right? In terms of being outside. Even before, like, the chapters, we had people outside in different places. So I think the movement is changing. What I think has to happen and will happen is that we're gonna see some wins, right? And wins build momentum. People on the ground, and I think one of the things you're gonna see very soon is that the only people on the ground are gonna be ADOS, right? In terms of, like, the energy for movement politics on the ground, you're gonna see ADOS shirts. In the wintertime, you're gonna see ADOS hoodies, and you're gonna say these are the people who are doing it. These are the people who are moving with specificity, and they're winning. And I think everybody loves a winner.
Well, the thing I can appreciate is, I've been checking stuff out. You got people who have interviewed you, like Rock Newman has interviewed you, to my surprise. Mark Lamont Hill, to his credit, interviewed you twice. What's her name interviewed you more recently? Karen Hunter. Yeah. I have to give her credit for that. However, there's some other people who clearly don't want to talk to you on tone. And that's because they want to see. There's some people who want to portray y'all as a bunch of caricatures and make it like, oh, these folks are just engaging in nativism and all that kind of stuff. And what I'm concerned about is people who know little or nothing about you, when they hear those kind of stupid talking points from these other folks, they'll take that and run with it.
Well, here's the problem. But here's the problem. I think we're about done with that. Because here's the problem. It's hard because, listen, I've been in the past, like, 2 years. Well, I've been in CNN again. I've been in the Associated Press again. I've been in Fox News twice, like, in recent. So I think it's hard when you have people, right? When the movement has actual people. They used to call us bots or whatever. Being on the ground is going to be very interesting because you actually have people who are out here. You can't say that anymore, right? You can't make that case anymore. It doesn't make sense anymore. So. And you might not be able to. I still can't keep a like on the CNN article. The only reason I keep it up at the top of my page is because I keep liking it. The like keeps getting removed. But if they stop censoring us, then I think we just take off anyway, even online. Because I see people repost what I just said like 2 weeks ago, and it goes viral. So with that, I see, like, and they have less followers than me. The only thing that kept that is the censorship. But I don't think we're in that space anymore. I think once we're outside, we're on the ground. When you see people start showing up to your city council, everything like that, start showing up to your congressperson's office, you're going to have to deal with ADOS. Like, we're bringing it to you directly. You're going to have to deal with us. And the thing is, everybody else is moving away. Like, you see, like, the national BLM, no shade to any of the local chapters of people who are doing work, but the national, Color of Change, Sean King, DeRay McKesson, all these other people are nobody's really looking to Al Sharpton for leadership. All these other people are gone. So I think the field has been cleared, and I think it's open space for what we want to do. Our biggest obstacle right now as a movement, to me, is us, and then white supremacy, right? Because once they see us, then they're gonna do something. Then they're gonna get active. They're not really active yet, but right now it's about joining. Go to join8os.com. It's about joining what we do, and it's about getting busy. And we're gonna light up these chapters, and that's we're just gonna do what we've been talking about doing, like what we've been building inside the org. That's what we have to do.
Well, I want to publicly salute you for the because when you drew the line, when kind of delineation, that's when the trouble started. Well, when I say trouble started, that's when things got exposed. Because other folks who like in Cobra and NARC and all them, I assumed that it was a given. Well, you talking about reparations, that's a given. Those of us who got roots here, only to find out that was never their intention in the first place. Their whole intention was to do flat blackness. And when you drew the line in the sand, that helped to expose that.
Yeah, and it had to happen. All the stuff that happened, it had to happen. It had to happen, and it probably had to happen that way. It had to happen because it had to be exposed. Like, listen, if we had just got reparations and we had not gone through that process, then everybody would have gotten it, right? Even if we had gotten to the finish line, and you wouldn't have had the right people up front to kind of, and you wouldn't have known until it was too late that they really were not playing for your team. So it had to happen. It has happened. We're moving on. Everybody just needs to get involved, get joined. I got 1,000 people in the chat. If I got anybody in the chat who has not joined, you should go and do that. You should go to join8os.com. It's the only game in town, and we got to get busy. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. I got to go to another caller real quick.
All right now.
Thank you, fam. Appreciate you. Going now to 770. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
My name is Vex. I'm calling from Toronto.
What's going on, Toronto?
Not much at all. I'm just up here visiting, visiting some family.
Okay.
It's a little smoky from all the fires and stuff, but you know.
I ain't never seen them fires. I see the smoke, but I ain't never seen the fires. That's something. I'm suspicious. No.
But at any rate, I had I think it's a simple question, but perhaps not. It's regarding reparations, though, so it's a little off the subject matter. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Just don't go too long.
Okay. My question is basically I'm kind of vaticinating and seeing the writing on the wall. I think the Republicans will probably retake the presidency and perhaps the Senate in the upcoming elections. The bill H.R. 4321, I see that possibly being passed under those circumstances. If so, would that pretty much be the end of reparations?
What is it? What is the bill? What is the name of the bill? What is the name of the bill you just said, fam? I don't really know the numbers. What's the name of the bill?
Oh, it's H.R.
But what is that bill? What does that bill do?
Oh, it's to prohibit the United States government from providing bailouts or other financial assistance to any state or local government that enacts any law providing reparations for slavery and for other purposes.
I don't think that passes the House. So.
Let's see. Oh, really? Not even the House with the Republicans in charge?
No, I don't think so. Listen. I will wait till Republicans are in charge. But like I think there are some bills that are just passed. There's some bills that are just passed as like fodder for your base, to signal to your base, I don't work with these Negroes and I don't support them, right? And that is kind of one of those bills to me. You can go back home and say, you see what I did? I told them they're not gonna get nothing around here. I don't see that bill passing, right? And because if it did pass, it would be great for black Congress people. It would be great for liberals or whatever. So I don't see that bill passing. I don't see anybody having any, especially like you would have to. Let me tell you what you would have to have for that bill to pass. You would have to have H.R. 42 have passed, right? And maybe then they decide to pass that bill as a response to H.R. 40. But right now, even Joe Biden has said that reparations isn't going to go anywhere. So if you have Joe Biden, the Democratic president, and the nominee this time around saying reparations are going anywhere, right? Remember that Politico article? Y'all can look it up. If you have him saying that, there's no need to like do that. You would have to have a situation where reparations is on the table, right? And we've passed something significant, and you won't even have that if ADOS AF isn't in the room. Like if you don't see the ADOS Advocacy Foundation moving in that direction, then it ain't gonna be nothing worth nothing. It's just gonna be talk anyway. Sheila Jackson Lee has said what she's gonna run for mayor or whatever, or the Tougaloo, whatever the hell. So you would have to have a situation where Republicans really felt like this is something that could happen, and Democrats too. You get some Democrats too. That's why, though, you have to be in a position where you're ready to negotiate with everybody, including Republicans, in terms of what your give is as a community to get what you want. I already have that in mind, but I'm not going to talk about it. But I think you would have to have some type of reparations legislation passed or on the verge of being passed for Republicans to then say we're going to block it. Other than that, that's a tool for them to use later. I don't think it gets done anytime soon. though. I could be wrong. Maybe they want to do that to shore up their base or something like that. But I think that most likely would get support if you start seeing a lot of traction on reparations legislation.
Well, tell me this. Do you think there's a possibility that the Democrats could utilize the specter of this bill being passed and use it as a fear tactic in order to get black people to vote for Democrats in the upcoming election?
Yes, they could. They absolutely could. They absolutely could.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They could say, "I'm for reparations," and look at what the Republicans are doing. Ain't you scared? Yeah, they absolutely could.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good one. Bye bye.
Nice night now.
Going now to 206. 206, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Rory. I'm calling from Washington State.
What's going on, Rory? I remember you. You called before, right?
Yeah, I've called before.
Okay. I remember that name.
I love how you answered that last question. So I kind of wish I had a question, but I really had a comment about Boyce.
Okay, go ahead.
Because there are a couple things about him that he messed Jamie up for me by association. Now, there's things about Jamie that would have been messed up.
Who?
I got some red flags off him alone.
Who, Jamie? Who is Jamie?
Jay. I don't know why I called him.
I'm about to say, child, you done brought somebody new into the equation.
Yeah. Because I was already sour on Boyce. I mean, part of it was when you had that debate with him, and you can still find that on Blog Talk.
Oh, it's on Blog Talk, because I couldn't find it. Okay.
Yeah. If you lose a debate like that, you're supposed to change.
Yeah.
Like, because I thought you trounced him. Like, that was really what
I thought so, too.
Where I was like, oh, okay, she gets it.
But let me just say this to what you're saying. I don't think Boyce learns. Like, and I'm not trying to say that as a slight. I think he operates based on specific ideologies that he has adopted, right? And those ideologies are not open to like criticism. It's kind of like being, it's kind of like religion. He has a Bible that he kind of a do for self Bible that he abides by, and there's nothing that you can say like that can make him believe that the stuff that he believes is not true. Especially since that kind of, he believes it's made him money. Really and truthfully, that's not what made him money. It's taking advantage of other people's aspiration that's made him money. But I believe that I believe that he has I have never seen anybody with such a rigid mindset as Boyce Watkins. Like, I have never seen it. I have never seen, like, he lacks the capacity to say you might be right. As opposed to, and it's one thing to have that when you are in a fight, right? When you are doggedly trying to achieve something, you have to have a mindset of, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna gnaw my way out of this. But he has that when it comes to information, right? And he doesn't access new information. He said plenty of times to myself, I think Mark Lamont Hill said it to him too, I don't read. So he's not a person who accesses new ideas, and that's a problem. If you consider yourself a thinker or a thought leader, you have to be able to assess things and take in new ideas and kind of bump up against them and figure out how you feel. So he's just not there, and I think he uses the PhD to kind of present himself as being there, as being evolved and thoughtful, and he's not.
There's one more example of that I wanted to bring up. And you remember he was on TV, and he was in a debate with this white dude, and they were talking about Michael Brown's murder. and the white dude was framing it as BLM just invented hands up, don't shoot. And I'm thinking, if you know that, like if you read and you did research, you would know the first person to raise their hand in reference to Michael Brown was a white dude imitating him. And if you did further research, you would know he was traumatized by what he saw. So, and I think that is why he has a problem with reparations advocacy, because the first step is you have to win arguments. The same way you make anything else popular. Like, there was a time when, like, I always bring this up online, marijuana legalization and gay marriage pulled way lower than reparations does today.
Mm-hmm.
And you just argue it up. And you can't argue it up if you don't read and you go in there ignorant. Because what he said to the white dude, his argument was, would you want this to happen to your kid? But his kid isn't redlined and criminalized. So it falls.
Well, let me say something.
The avenue to then, oh, go ahead.
No, let me say something. Like, you said something about research, right? Like, you know, I'm not subscribed to Boy's channel. I only went there to kind of see, somebody told me, he said something about, like, Jay Morrison. And when you go there, you see that he's making, like, multiple videos. Like, and he's just talking about everything. You know, if I wanted to just kind of, like, get more money, right? I could make 7, 8. He's making like 10 videos a week, it look like over there. I could do that. But it wouldn't be of value to the people who are listening to me. Not to be able to research and really think deeply about what I want to present to you, right? And so when you say he doesn't research, that's his business model. Like, his business model is just to have an opinion on something. It's not to have a good opinion. Like, when you talk about, and I talked about this yesterday, the reason he kind of went at Corey Holcomb, which I don't know why anybody goes at a comedian, you know, but like, you just gonna get roasted. But the reason he did that is because it brings eyeballs to him, right? So the people who follow Corey Holcomb will come and then come to his channel, if for nothing else than to call him a name. Well, for him, that's views. I just have a level of seriousness to me as a grown person that I'm not chasing the YouTube bag or whatever. I come on YouTube once a week, right? I'm not going to just be putting stuff up here just because something came out in the news and I want to have an opinion on it because that drives dollars my way. That's not what I'm doing. But the time that he could be making those videos, what I'm saying to you is the time that he has to research. I'm not doing a bunch of videos because, 3 is more than enough. But I'm not doing all of those videos because I'm not just out here trying to have an opinion. I'm trying to be thoughtful. And that other time would be better spent reading and figuring out stuff. But he doesn't do that. This is just a business plan. And that's the problem.
Yeah. That's it. The only thing I was going to say is that in that debate he had online, it left out, it gave up the possibility to where that guy could return and say, well, my kid would never charge a cop or something like that. And I think that, because he didn't have a retort for that, because he basically lost it in the frame. And it goes to what we're saying. It's not knowing. Like, how can you say someone invented something like an organization when the first person that did it was a white dude on the scene imitating?
Yep.
Like, and to not know that, it really made it seem like I don't care who he endorses or what he endorses.
Well, listen, he doesn't.
It's comedy because he has to wing it because he doesn't have info.
But he doesn't know. Like, some of my earliest conversations with Boyce, when we were working, and I was writing articles, all kind of little stupid articles for him. Like, some of my earliest interactions with Boyce were him being at CNN or about to go on CNN and calling me and saying, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Right? And I didn't really think about it at the time. Like, I thought he wanted to bump his ideas off of me. But once you go along, you realize, oh, he doesn't really have ideas. Oh, he doesn't really follow this stuff. So, like, that's kind of what you're being used for, is to kind of funnel ideas to him because you research, you've been following it. He hasn't been following it. So you become his cheat code. And later, you kind of get aggravated about all the ways in which you've been taken advantage of. And so you move on. But that happened then. It's just like, well, I'm about to go on and going to talk about this. What do you think about this? I just kind of like what I said. What I say about what I think about this is like part of that ends up there. Now with Boyce, Boyce is gonna be Boyce. He's gonna always mess it up because we don't have the same outlook on life. So he's gonna always mess it up. He's gonna bastardize everything I tried to say. But like he will at least have a foundation from which to come and try to have the conversation. And I think he just but he doesn't research. He doesn't sit down and read articles. He doesn't sit down and think deeply. He's just moving to the bag. That's why I always say get the bag culture is a problem. Like if that's the only thing you're doing, if that's a problem. The way you get money is important, and money for the sake of having it. You want it for us to build and everything else, but you don't want it at the expense of your people. You don't want it at the expense of good arguments about how to benefit your people. You don't want it that way.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, fam. I appreciate you.
This has been a hell of a podcast because I like some of the other callers. You know, it was kind of a tough act to follow with a couple of callers you had. So, talk to you later.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you. You have a good one. Bye. Uh-oh. No, I didn't try to do that. Oh, here we go. I am going now to 910. 910, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Vet? This is Christian Mosley from Fayetteville.
Hey, Christian, what's going on?
And not much. I'm so glad that you and Mr. Antonio have been smacking the intellectual fire into these two gentlemen right here because I've been doing, I guess, I've been doing a little bit of my own due diligence with both of them and just people like them. And I think what is weird because I've been having a kind of a dichotomy of emotions. On one hand, I'm very happy that all of these things are kind of getting exposed for what they are. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, it's heartbreaking. Number one, because I dealt with a situation like this, almost very, very similar with a close family member who I will remain nameless. But also seeing how much, especially for me as a young person, seeing how much and how easily young people get taken advantage of with stuff like this. We're already in an economy that was not really created for us because nothing was left. So you take advantage of a desperate group of people because if you notice, with either Dr. Boyce Watkins or Jay Morrison or anybody of that nature, all of their followers, the vast majority of their followers, are not white people. They're ADOS because white people know what's up. And that's not to say that all of them are the most financially literate, but earlier today I happened to go back and watch an interview that Jay Morrison did with Vlad TV, and even with Vlad, and I encourage everybody to just go back and watch it. Even with Vlad saying that he wasn't a real estate guy, just the line of questioning that he had for Jay, and watching him kind of stumble over answers and not really give legitimate information that would actually show his expertise. And then at the same time, for these two grown men that could easily be my father, also seeing how they become selectively accountable. So on one hand, they want to be respected for their expertise and what they know, and then when something goes wrong, then they're asking for grace. But for me, in the job that I work, I'm a territory manager for Sherwin-Williams. Okay. When you don't make sales or you don't make certain performance goals, you're done. That's it. It's nothing personal. It's nothing about whether or not you can't present well or dress nice. It's simply about what are you bringing in. If you're not contributing anything to this for-profit company or helping us get a return on our investment, that's it. So like next week, I actually have a mid-year review with my manager to make sure that I'm on track to hit my goals at the end of the year. So who are these two grown men who are supposed to be financial experts or at least leaders in their field? Who are they to think that they don't have to be held to that level of accountability, if not higher? And I think that also, I think another thing that I wanted to add real quick, I don't want to take up too much time, was that a previous caller had kind of mentioned about like ADOS maybe losing momentum. I think I would like to add, especially with being somebody I would consider myself on the ground, I wouldn't say that we're losing momentum. It just looks differently during different seasons.
That's what.
If I'm sorry.
No, that's the same thing I was saying. Like I think, and I don't think people remember. Like I think the real wilderness in ADOS was when people started leaving, and people would be like, "Oh my God, is Yvette really stabbing people in the neck?" You know what I mean? It's like no, but people, I think if I was gonna ask that question, but I think it's a different season. I agree with you, but I think that would have been the time I would have asked that question because it really looked like, oh my God, they're doing whatever. I don't think I think this is a very different season. But go on, fam. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's absolutely what it is. It's the fact that it's a different season and it looks different during different times. So, and I remember, because more recently I've been going back and watching you and Mr. Antonio's older videos because now I'm starting to educate more people on the movement. So I got to refresh my ADOS Politics 101 just to be able to reintroduce that to them. And while I'm doing it, I'm seeing certain videos pop up about things that you all talked about 5-6 years ago that are now playing out in front of us now. And I'm realizing, like you mentioned, that wilderness experience, everybody's not built for this. Mm-hmm. And I think because of the optics of certain pictures, we think the civil rights movement was the same way, where millions of people were hitting the streets, and they weren't.
No.
We don't need everybody. Now, we're fighting for all of our people's freedom, absolutely, and for our liberation and for the justice claim, but everybody doesn't need to be involved in that fight because everybody's not either mature enough for that, you're not prepared enough for that. One of the things you used to say a lot in a lot of the earlier shows is some people they don't know enough to even have a conversation, let alone fight for it.
And you remember the civil rights movement had trainings. If you couldn't get through the trainings or whatever, and you couldn't do it. And I remember there was a great thing about I remember a photographer talking about we didn't always have a whole lot of people. Like the March on Washington was the big thing, and all these other marches, he was like, we didn't always have a lot of people. I just knew how to photograph it to make it look like we did. So it's even with that, like people think the whole civil rights movement was the March on Washington. That's not the case.
Absolutely. And I would say that even especially with these two, I think the reason that, because I've seen a few people in the chat mention, like, why does Jay Morrison and Boyce Watkins and other people like them, why they keep getting brought up? The reason being, and I would encourage some of you guys, go on Instagram or Facebook and see how many of your friends and family are following these people. That's why we have to keep having these
the thing is,
everybody doesn't understand.
Exactly. What happens is they steal the attention. So you have to talk about it, and you have to dispatch with this, because what happens is you think about it. Like ADOS, you think about ADOS was coming of age. Like that New York Times article was 2019, I think. Like we were coming of age at the same time Jay Morrison was doing his thing. But instead of the community focusing on us, there was this vehicle that they thought was going to bring them money. Oh, I don't want to do a donation. I'm going to go do this thing and get the bag. So that became a distraction away from movement work, right? And if it had been something that I thought was a legitimate thing, I don't even begrudge it. If I think it's legitimate, I don't even begrudge it. But it's just you took all of the attention out of the room, and now you have 2 years back to back of losses that we're seeing with the SEC. So what happens is every time, and it's not just Jay Morris, you're gonna have somebody else come forward, and I got this, and I got that, and you want to be able to, hey, like, can we bring some attention to like doing politics, right? And it's not to say nobody can do their business venture. I actually think, like I said before, if Jay Morrison and Boyce Watkins in the way they're dealing with this are hurting black business people, ADOS business people to be specific. But I think you have to deal with the people who are taking the attention out of the room and not giving anything back. If you are going to capture ADOS attention, I need you to give something back. You promised a dividend and you gave like $13 or whatever. You promised to be building back Wall Street or whatever, the Black Wall Street. Like these people are taking attention, they're taking money, and they're not giving anything back. Not even giving answers back. People need answers. You're not giving that back. You gave us pictures. So I'll let you finish up, fam. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely, and I definitely wanted to leave off with just, I think that you kind of segued into that last point I wanted to make, which is that bootstrapism, especially by ADOS, is a key, very key indicator that individual has a sophomore understanding of white supremacy. If you honestly think that you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you do not know what it is that you are fighting against. We're not talking about a political fight. We're talking about just economics. When you don't understand, because many of us as a people, because we've been locked out of wealth most of our lives, we don't know what trillions and trillions of dollars in wealth really looks like. We think we do because of social media or whatever the case is, but we don't really. And the last point I wanted to make is, because I think this is one of the points, because I a man of faith. I believe in the Bible. So when Jay Morrison brings his faith into certain things while he's fleecing the sheep, that in particularly pisses me off, because what he does not remember in that same Bible, that when people are taken advantage of, you take advantage of people, especially that are less fortunate or that are vulnerable, there's a special type of accountability that higher power has for you. A lot of people don't remember the story of Nehemiah the prophet, who, when he found out that the men were prostituting their daughters, he beat these men and pulled their hair out. When Jesus went into the temple and saw that the teachers and the businessmen of that day were taking advantage of people in that temple, he flipped tables and beat people. So if we want to bring that faith into it, let's just remember that the Jesus of the Bible and this so-called figment of his imagination that he brings up so much wouldn't have too much to say that's very kind or soft-hearted to somebody that is taking advantage of his own people for self-aggrandizement. So I want to leave it there. Again, Ms. Yvette, thank you so much for your work. I'm definitely excited putting in the work here on the ground.
I appreciate it.
And ladies and gentlemen, keep fighting.
Absolutely, absolutely. All fights. There's never been a battle where a general or a person who even works in the infantry has said, I knew the whole time we was going to win. Nobody, if somebody ever tells you that who's in the military and they was in a battle, they lying. I always knew we was going to win. It always ebbs and flows. That's just the nature of any kind of battle. So it shouldn't be surprising. 310, what's going on?
What up, man? This is Tone Talk. I just wanted to call in and support your show.
What's up, Antonio?
Speak on Jaden Morrison, speak on Poise, and Tariq Tyson as well. It's just lovely. Back in 2018, the thing is now it's kind of easier to talk about Jay Morrison because he's losing the bread now. But I did a 13-minute video before I did the one that's Kirkwood Dash Radio, and what I had to deal with, and it wasn't like because I already had a fan base. Because you gotta understand, we're donating our fan base to fight back against Black aspiration. I literally mean that, because you guys played a role in saving Black folks as well. Not only telling your own people, but it made it so you couldn't attack my show or that show, because we're just operating at enough level. So in 2018, I did a 13-minute show first, back when I was doing it on the camera, and then I did the Dash Radio show. And one of the responses was, Boyce has a finance degree. What Boyce did to undergird Jay Morrison is one of the most awful things, I think, in Black politics I've seen in quite some time. And the reason why I say that is because this fund, it wasn't called the Lightning Fund. It wasn't called the Mega Fund. It was called the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. So you might have a situation now where the man doing the Tulsa Real Estate Fund owes reparations to the Black people that he got to donate or support or whatever you want to call what they gave him. And I think for a lot of people that's hard to digest, but it shouldn't be because the document said it, and it shouldn't be because he's a 3-time felon and you don't know what the 3 felonies are. Is there a fraud in it? Is there anything else? He's a high school dropout. Well, we know it wasn't 12th grade. Is it 11th? Is it 10th grade? What's his arithmetic level? You have every right to ask these things because he's decided, not that he's a member of the Adolf Foundation, that he's going to be the man that counts your money. Then, in addition, he has a bankruptcy that's active that I showed you guys, and you still gave your money up. Some of you guys, not many of the listeners now. And inside of that bankruptcy, think about this, how crazy this was. He had a lot. I don't think people know how crazy it is, and I'm sorry if I'm going to take a little bit more time to explain it. So there's a man that called me. I didn't ask this man to call. And he explained that he knew Jermaine. He had inherited some land from his family. He brought Jermaine in as a 0.25% interest owner. Black man, I guess he saw something in Jermaine. Jermaine sold the house, according to his accusation, out from under him. So after he sells the house out from under him, They then go to court back in 2009. They don't go to the judge and jury or whatever they decide. They settle. That means that we agree that you owe me my money for stealing my stuff. That's the guy y'all have running the social real estate. But not only that, he then takes that settlement and puts it into the bankruptcy, so you don't have to pay the settlement. I told you that, and y'all still made me have to prove it to you, because the Boyce Watkins has a finance degree. That was where we was at in 2018, because nobody else was talking about this. It was me, and then I brought Yvette on my show, and she did some shows as well. Because she's on that show that's in purple, if you watch the whole show. I'm setting this up because think about the gravity of having a Tulsa real estate fund where the guy that ran it might owe reparations to the people that supported the fund. And ask yourself where Adolph goes from here. If that's, where you guys are at. And not only that, it wasn't like he was so Boyce brought up the Popeyes guy, and Popeyes and the white business. The guy that's the chairman of Popeye, John Creenan, I think is his name, he was the vice president of Pepsi Co. West. He was the CEO of KFC. He's now the chairman of Popeye. So he went through a gradual set of steps. The man that sells you your chicken went to Harvard Business School. So you're going to allow a 3-time felon with an active bankruptcy with a fraud in the middle that dropped out of high school manage your money that you don't have none of. But the man that gives you your chicken went to Harvard and used to work at Pepsi. Where do we go from here is up to you, because I don't know. None of that makes any sense at all. But what I will tell you is what I told you, and I said this in the short clip, but I wanted to make sure that some of you guys that didn't see the short clip, the FCC has certain requirements. Those came about after the Kardashians. If somebody is an influencer, that's what Boyce is. He's an influencer. You call him a PhD finance professor. I call him an influencer. He sells classes, and he influenced y'all to do things. He had an obligation, if he was paid by Jay Morrison, if he had affiliate deals with Jay Morrison, to let you guys know that this was a paid promotion. You need to ask if he was paid. You need to ask if he got affiliate payback. And if he got those things, you need to figure out if you need to bring FCC claims. And if you don't do that, well then, you got your 600. Because there's also an arbitration clause in the document. For those people that don't know what arbitration is, you usually got to pay for the judge up front. Meaning $30,000, $40,000. This is a $600 investment, $1,000 investment in Delaware. So basically you can't even sue. I'm saying all this to say none of this makes any sense. It didn't make sense in 2018. It didn't make sense in 2020. And it damn sure don't make no sense in 2023. And I'm looking at the way you guys are digesting it and struggling with it. And I just end here. I don't know if Yvette has any Yvette. I'm sorry for just explaining. I don't know if Yvette has the document, but if you do, you can show it to me. I'll just explain it. There's another question here, and I'm not the one to ask you. Why is this fund not profitable? So when you look at the numbers on the actual most recent release, I showed you guys, and I'm just going to lay it at your feet. You go figure it out. I think the administrative and marketing was $2 million. I think that the fee, the management fee was $600,000. But the losses was $2.7 million. Why does the management fee and the marketing fee add up to just about the same amount as the loss? All I know is that he don't have to pay out until he gets the profit. I want to know, if I'm an investor, are you moving the numbers on management fee and on marketing so you don't get the profit? Only way I can see that is if you give me the itemization. I mean, down to the penny. I feel like you have every right to ask that because of his background and he's not getting paid. Some of y'all in here trying to play Bill Gates and ain't ready to do the part that Bill Gates got to do, which is now you got to ask him questions. I just wanted to come just lay some stuff at the feet because I don't think people understand how we got here over the course of 5 years and the importance of this moment. Because Yvette brought it to me this weekend after Boyce got to talk about chicken and white people and everything else. And all I want to know is, can the man read? Because he said he dropped out sometime early in high school, I think. All right. I'm out.
All right, appreciate it, Antonio. Yeah, I mean, oh, this is rough, and I just take all the energy out the room. You wonder why we ain't doing this? Well, why we ain't doing that? Well, because we're doing this, and the man went and got the money, and he don't got it, and he moved the money, and he did the thing. That's why we doing. So we ask why we talking about this, because this shouldn't even be here. Like if everybody had taken our advice in 2018, we wouldn't be here, because you would have asked the question and said, I don't know if this is a good investment, and we wouldn't be here. I would rather not be talking about it, but not for the reasons that some people say. I would rather not be talking about it because the fund didn't get this far, because it couldn't pass your scrutiny. Like, it couldn't pass the scrutiny of investors. So you have to go and get somebody who's more competent to do a fund. Not saying that you can't do the fund, but you can't do it with Jay Morrison. Somebody competent has to come in here and do a fund or something like that. But we don't get here, so there's nothing for me to talk about. That's what I would have liked, and we're not here because, some people decided, no, this not no GoFundMe. You do their donations event. You don't know the money. Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate you. I'm going now to 215. That'll be my last call. 215. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
It's Miss Yvette.
Yeah, what's going on, fam?
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, how you doing? I was surprised to get on. How you doing? Tone boarded, didn't he? I think I'm going to start reading tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to talk about, Jay Morrison and real estate. I wanted to talk a little bit about real estate. Is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Did you see the movie The Banker? Did you happen to see it?
I did not. I was planning to. I know they was planning to put it in the theater, then something else happened, and I lost track of it. They took it out or something, then something happened, and I lost track of it.
Okay, well,
but I know what it's about. I know the story. I know the story, though.
So the movie is called The Banker, but the real important part that I took from it was a real estate deal they was trying to do with an office building. So therefore, they purchased the office building, but they wound up getting arrested just for purchasing some real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it brought on the 1968 Fair Housing Act of 1968. But that right there within there, it's called the Fair Housing Act. Why wasn't it called the Fair Real Estate Act?
Child,
now,
I'm not finna.
from what I'm because from what I'm researching, there's no black person who is the sole proprietor owner of a building over 5 stories tall. No matter how rich they are, there's not. I can't find one.
But why would you say no matter how rich?
Get over 5,
But why would you say no matter how rich
ahead.
they are? We know most of us are nearly like we're nearly all working class poor. So like you would say like a black person no matter how rich they are. Like I don't.
Yeah, I'm talking about even the billionaires.
We don't really have
I give you an example. I was looking at this art. Go ahead.
What billionaires though? Like we got like I can count them on one hand, and like some of them are questionable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No matter how rich a black person is, there's no black person that's the sole owner of a building 5-story tall.
That's because they ain't really rich.
5 stories. Huh?
They not really rich though. They not rich. So no matter how rich they are, they're not. Most of them are not rich. Do you know how much a 5-story building costs?
Well, if you let these people let them tell it, they rich. Especially the last 5 years, everybody on YouTube, everybody's rich. Everybody say we don't need reparations because we're rich and we're doing fine without it. So I'm just going by what they say they are.
Oh, child, you can listen to lies then.
But check it out. I actually called Tone when Tony the Closer did his show with Tone, and I actually told them what was going to happen. I told them I actually ran down what the scheme was, and now this has come into fruition. But this is nothing. What Jay Morrison did is nothing new. It's called hooking the salmon.
And basically what you do is you just establish a business, you get it funded, you do bad business deals, and then you file bankruptcy and run off with the money. That it's just a scheme that's been going on in white collar crimes, or white folks have been doing it for a while now. But the thing is, black folks, we can't go to the bank and get our stuff funded. So basically, he got his funding from us. That was the difference here. But it's really a scheme that's been going on for a while. It actually has a name called Hook in the Sand.
I appreciate you, fam. You have a good one.
Yeah, that's.
You have a good one, fam. It is what it is. I mean, it's just I would prefer not to have none of these conversations, right? That's if I had my druthers, but the man came on with a bunch of pictures, and so there's no way to and when you do this kind of stuff and you behave in such an unserious manner, I know what you're trying to do. When you start showing Negroes pictures instead of going over the SEC reports, doing a real earnings call, having a real conversation about what the path forward is, I know what it is. But let me just say this before I go. Y'all better look out for that ask for that second round of funding, because I believe it's coming. Now he might adjust it because what's been said here is what's been said here. But I believe that second round of funding is coming, and he's gonna say, because he already said Uber got, and everybody got money. They got $200 million. Y'all won't give me. Remember, Umar said something similar. Y'all won't give me. Y'all only gave me $400,000 to start a school. And Well, did you know how much it was to start a school? You didn't have no specific kind of plan. You didn't come to the people. So it's just like, I already know that the thing is going to be, y'all got to give. It looks like that's what he signaled. Again, go to his Instagram and look for yourself. You don't have to trust me. Like I said, it's 40-some minutes long, but go to the Instagram yourself and take a look at it. It's signal. I think he's finna ask for some. I think he's finna come back to the with hat in hand. Can I have alms for the poor? Because I'm poor now. I've lost the money. The initial money. Alms for the poor. And these don't show. So just look out for that, fam. And we got to get smarter. We got to grow as a people. We can't let people take advantage of our aspiration and what we want to be just because we want to be a boss. Somebody says equity. Somebody says ownership. And all of a sudden we in there. Yes, what I want to do. I want to own. I don't want to do no donation. It was a donation. Right? So you go back. Okay, you gave over time, you gave $500 to Yvette versus you gave $500 to Jay Morris. Right? You actually do have a movement that is doing what we said we were going to do. Start the foundation, about to light up chapters. We got a great, if y'all signed up, you got the great, you know that we're about that business. Like we the OMB, the foundation got the retraction from Harvard. That was the foundation. That was not Yvette. So you see us moving in a direction. It's a shame that a nonprofit, like a foundation, is giving you more of a return on your investment than a business. And the business is supposed to be the one to give you a ROI. Like, I'm not saying that nonprofits shouldn't, but they're judged differently than businesses. Businesses are about making money. Y'all gave this man 13, 12, however much. The money's changing now. However much millions of dollars you gave him, and he don't give you a return, right? It's a shame. And he's about to just come back to the well and say, some corner class stuff, some on the corner stuff. So, fam, we just got to get smarter. That's all it is to it. I appreciate everybody. Listen, I'm about to get out of here. Don't bother nobody. Don't you let nobody bother you. Don't let nobody bother you. Get you some chamomile, whatever. Get in the tub. Do what you got to do. And I will see you all. If you are just on YouTube, I will see you next week, same time. If not, if you're on Patreon, I will see you tomorrow. If you want to subscribe to Patreon, you have not, patreon.com/ycarnell. So I will see y'all. Great chat. Nice chat. And y'all have a good one, all right? Please, if you have not, please hit the like button. If you don't get notifications, please hit that notifications button so you can hit that bell if you have not done that. And if you have not gone to joinados.com, you need to take care of that, all right? I'll see y'all next time.